was set. They would have an evening alone while Del took the others out. Rodney had chosen his persona, Russell Crowe from Gladiator. Cassandra had chosen hers, a policewoman from The Bill. However, in the Trotter household, plans were merely suggestions. Del's night out was canceled, and he returned home to find Rodney in a leather tunic and Cassandra in a high-visibility vest. "Fancy dress party?" Del asked, eyeing Rodney's sandals. Yes, Rodney lied, his face reddening. Very early one, for Cassandra's ex-boss. Right. Well, you look lovely, Cassandra, very authoritative. And you, Rodney, you look like Spartacus with a digestive problem. Anyway, off you go. Borrow the Capri. Chapter 7, The Studio Lights. The night of Gold Rush arrived. The BBC studios were a hive of activity, smelling of floor wax and ambition. Del was in the makeup chair, having his forehead buffed to a high shine. "You look nervous, Mr. Trotter," the makeup artist remarked. "Nervous? Me? I've dealt with the Triads in Limehouse and the Inland Revenue in Peckham. This is a walk in the park. Creme de la menthe, darling." On stage, Jonathan Ross was warming up the crowd. And finally, we have Derek Trotter from Peckham, a man of fine wines, the theater, and 16th century Italian Renaissance art. Del walked out, waving to an imaginary fan club. He felt the heat of the lights and the weight of the 50,000 pounds dead on his shoulders. This wasn't just a game. It was a rescue mission. The first rounds were a blur. Del used his fastest finger, which was usually reserved for counting cash, to stay in the game. He guessed his way through questions about geography and history, narrowly avoiding a disaster regarding the height of Kilimanjaro. "I thought Fuji made cameras," Del quipped to a laughing audience. He was winning them over. The Peckham charmer was in full effect. But then came the green question, 25,000 pounds. In which state was President Kennedy born? Ross asked. Del's brain froze. He remembered the motorcade. He remembered the tragedy. He was in a terrible state, Jonathan. He died. The audience roared, but Ross shook his head. "I need a U.S. state. Del, Texas, Florida, or California." Del panicked. He used his shot in the dark. "Florida." "No, it was Texas. You're frozen out, Del." But the game wasn't over. There was the penalty question. The chance to jump to the 100,000 pounds gold question. How many wheels does a Reliant Robin have? 3. Del shouted before the question was even finished. Correct. Now, for 50,000 pounds and a chance at the gold. Which classical guitarist wrote the opera The Child and the Enchantment? Was it Ravel, Segovia, or Rodrigo? Del felt the world spinning. Classical music. He knew the Birdie song and most of Chas and Dave's discography. But this was the highbrow stuff he'd always pretended to know. I'm going to use my AOS, Del declared. I'm calling my brother, Rodney. He's got to GCEs. You know, he's the brains of the operation. Chapter 8, The Call. Back at the flat, Rodney was still in his gladiator gear, trying to salvage the remains of his fantasy therapy night. The phone rang. If that's Mickey Pierce again, I'll kill him, Rodney muttered, picking up the receiver. Hello, Rodney. This is Jonathan Ross at the Gold Rush Studio. Oh, piss off, Mickey. You're getting on my tits now. Rodney, no, it's really me. I've got Derek here. Rodney froze. He heard the studio audience. He heard Dole's frantic voice. Rodders, help me. The opera, the child and the enchantment, Ravel, Segovia, or Rodrigo. Rodney's mind raced back to his school days, to a music appreciation class he'd actually attended. Ravel. Del, it's Ravel. 100%. You sure, Rodney? I'm certain. I know my classics. Del turned to the camera, his confidence restored. It's Ravel, Jonathan. My brother knows his onions. There was a pause, a long, agonizing silence. Derek, Jonathan Ross said, his voice dripping with sympathy. That was the wrong answer. It was Segovia. What? Del screamed. But Rodney said. Rodney was wrong. You've lost everything, Del. But here's £1 so you don't go home empty-handed. Chapter 9, The Aftermath. The silence in the flat when Del returned was deafening. He walked in, looking like a man who had been through a car wash without the car. Raquel was waiting. Damien was asleep. Rodney and Cassandra were sitting on the sofa, looking guilty. I went out, Del said simply, dropping the £1 coin on the table. I'm sorry, Del, Rodney whispered. I could have sworn it was Ravel. Ravel makes shoes, Rodney, Del snapped. Everyone knows that. It was a trick question and you fell for it. But, don't but me. You've embarrassed the family. You've embarrassed the nation. I'm going to bed. But sleep didn't come. The phone rang again an hour later. Del answered it, expecting another prank from Mickey Pierce. Hello. Yes, this is Derek Trotter. What? No, you're joking. Del's face changed. The despair evaporated, replaced by a slow, spreading grin. What is it, Del? Raquel asked, coming into the room. Del hung up the phone, his eyes sparkling. That was the producer. They made a mistake. The researcher got the cards mixed up. It was Ravel. No, Rodney gasped. Yes, they're giving me the £50,000, and they want me back on the show for the gold question. The room erupted. Rodney cheered, Cassandra hugged Raquel, and even Damien woke up and started jumping on the sofa. Del stood in the center of the chaos, the £1 coin in his hand. He looked at his family, his loyal, crazy, bankrupt, beautiful family. I told you, didn't I? Del said, his voice full of the old bravado.